Ready? Letting everyone in. Well, we got one person on so far. Want to give it a second? Okay. I'll call the regular meeting of the Bogota Board of Education for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Please stand for the flag salute. United States of America. Thank you and good evening. The New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Bogota Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bogota Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Bogota, and posted on the Bogota Board of Education website. Irfan, roll call.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Present.
Mr. Alvarez,
Present.
Mr. Chavez,
Present.
Mrs. Cruz,
Present.
Mr. Navarro, absent. Mrs. Olivo,
Present.
Mr. Ortega, absent. Ms. Ruckett,
Present.
Mr. Miranda.
Present.
We have the quorum.
Opening the floor to hearing on citizens' remarks for agenda items only. Do I have a? Yeah, Oh, I'm sorry. Also present are Superintendent Damian Kennedy, Board Attorney William Sukas. I'm sorry, Thomas Coben. Welcome, Tom, again. I'm so sorry. We do miss him. School Business Administrator, Board Secretary Irfan Efsil, Assistant Board Secretary Elizabeth Ruiz, and no student representative this evening. I'm opening the floor to citizens on hearing of citizens on agenda items only. Do I have a motion to open the floor to hearing citizens?
Olivo.
Mrs. Olivo, do I have a second?
Chavez.
Mr. Chavez, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If there's any member who would like to address the board, superintendent on agenda items only, please feel free to do so. State your name and your address. You have 5 minutes. Anyone online, Mr. Kennedy? There's no one present this evening.
There's 5 people online, but no hands are raised.
May I take a motion to close hearing of citizen on agenda items only?
Alvarez?
Mr. Alvarez, do I have a second?
Chavez?
Mr. Chavez, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to section 3.1 of our agenda, superintendent's report, Mr. Kennedy.
Good evening. So first, we had a great opening of schools. I was in all the buildings, students and teachers and staff look great. We're very excited to be back. Obviously, the first couple of days were extremely hot to start the school year off. I know this is a sore subject for some people, but we will look at future scheduling if we start a week later, maybe some single sessions on the first couple of days, but I want to make sure everyone understands what our situation is. Our buildings are extremely old. We cannot just plug air conditioners into our classrooms because electrically we cannot handle it. The referendum will be dealing with these issues, that we will be able to upgrade some of our classrooms with air conditioning. But so everyone is understanding, estimates right now for Bixby-Steen and high school would cost about $12 million to put air conditioning in. All right, so we can't go to the supermarket, get an air conditioner and plug it in and cool the room down. So every year, last year, we got extremely lucky at the end of the year with no hot days. So I understand there are some hot days in the beginning of the year. But after the upgrades are made with the electric, we can start looking at capital reserve and how we can maybe do a floor in a building or a complete building if we continue to be financially responsible. But that is something that we just cannot flick a switch to say and get it cool tomorrow. But this is something that we're looking into. And, you know, when we estimate it out, if we have 5 to 10 hot days a year is what it comes down to for $12 million. So I just want to make sure everyone here understands that's what we're talking about. So we will continue to look at how we can improve the cooling with capital reserve in the future after the upgrades. I'm also pleased to inform you that the Bogota Board of Education has received the ASPO Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year ended in 2022. This award represents significant achievement and reflects your commitment to the transparency and high quality financial reporting. So I want to give a special shout out to Irfan and to the business office for doing so again. I believe this is our 6th year in a row receiving that award. Is that correct? So kudos to everyone involved in that process. Also, fall sports is off to a great start, and our football team is off to a better start, 2-0. And we have our first home game at Feigl Field on Saturday at 1 p.m. So if you're around, come out. Band will be there. It should be a great day. Also on this agenda, we have a new grant submission for high impact tutoring. This is coming from the DOE for grades 3 and 4. We would qualify for about $76,000 if we get it. And that will help with after school and summer tutoring for this year, but only for 3rd and 4th grade. The other thing I want to point out is that Bogota is grateful to be one of 11 New Jersey school districts awarded the school-based mental health grant. We look forward to partnering with Fairleigh Dickinson University to train future New Jersey psychologists and help support student mental health in needs. This will be a 5-year program that is worth over $900,000. So what it will be, we'll be getting free interns and students working to get their school psychology degree. There is a shortage in them. This will give us a pipeline to them. So we're very excited about that. And then finally, I have to pull item 10.2 on the agenda, which is an action item. And that was for a special ed maternity leave. The person who accepted the offer was lucky enough to receive a tenure track position today. So she had to pull her name from this position. So we will continue to look for that position. But special education teachers in the high school are tough to find right now in math and English. So we are pulling that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And then just to elaborate a little bit, just a little. We had Congressman Josh Gothenheimer over on Tuesday? Friday. I'm sorry, on Friday. Wow, I'm really just on Friday. And, you know, on the Healthy Meals, what was it called? Healthy Meals Initiative grant that helps us enhance a little bit of our lunchrooms and our preparation of meals, etc. I will say that he did make mention that we have been one of the most successful school districts in Bergen County for being awarded grants. So that means we're chasing them down, baby. And I want to give a real big shout out to our administration, you know, Samuel Chang, who does an exceptional job. Mr. Kennedy works hand in hand with him. Irfan and the business administration always has their documents in line for a timely submission. For what I've asked, that seems to be getting us ahead, the timely submissions. You know, like every person sitting up here, I took an opportunity to complain about the air conditioners and see if there was grants there. And just to say we need more help. We are a small school district when you look at Bergen County as a wide. So we got to take all the help we can get. Just to get a, you know, just to elaborate a little bit on the air conditioning as well. you know, a lot of people complain, and I've taken the liberty as a resident, not a board president, to provide some information, some light as to what the processes are. And the one thing I will never, ever let any member of the public is accuse any board member I'm sitting with or insinuate that we don't know where the money's going or that we're mismanaging money or misappropriating money. That goes back as to getting the ASPO certificate. Our money is very clear. I'll elaborate again or reiterate again. We received kudos from the state through our audit financials, financial auditing. It was basically perfect. It was. So, you know, for purposes of information, we do a very good job. The administration does a great job. We monitor it. We sign the bills on time. We follow our records on time. Everyone on this board shows up on time, at least for those with a 3-year and so on track history. And I want to thank you for that, because sometimes people just simply don't understand what we go through to try to keep these things on, you know, stay on top of these things. And I'll never allow anyone in the district to say those things and not even understand it. You know, some people actually told me yesterday at a PTO, STEAM PTO, that we got paid a lot of money to be up here. And I did nothing but did that exactly. I just laughed. And I was shocked to hear that. And it really just, it just, you know, people don't know. I came from New York, from a city that you weren't as, you never knew who your political figures are. You never knew who your board members were or you didn't know that. They have access to us, and I want them to feel free to ask that information. And I hope you feel free to educate them. So maybe one day we're more united in those stands. That's all. Moving on to,
Frank, I just, one question on the
Go ahead.
FDU program, Mr. Kennedy, when is that set to start?
This year. So we actually have we actually have 4 interns that will be in all the schools this year. But it's also looking for recruits for next year. So we rolled it out to our teachers and to our aides. Anyone that has that graduated college with a BA can literally go to this program at night and get their psychology degree to become a school psychologist. And they actually have another program that if you have your psychology degree, to get your doctorate degree for free.
I read it wrong. I thought it started in the summer of next year.
No, we already introduced them on our first day. Those 4 interns, they're going to be in buildings this year.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
all is well. All right, moving on to resolution 4-1, approval of minutes for the August 29th regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
We're not voting.
Oh, we don't?
This
Oh.
is a work action.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'm sorry. Moving on to 5, there's no policy. Education, resolution 6-1, which is for approval of agenda items 6-1 through 6-10. Are there any questions?
Nope.
Why did I lose that one? Okay, moving on to 7-1, which is agenda items. No, the typo here.
7:10.
Sorry, 7-10, which is 7-1 through 7-10. Is there any questions or concerns? Moving on to 8-7, which is items 8-1 through 8-7. Any questions or concerns? Moving on to buildings and ground, we have none at this time. And we are the action items, right? So we are moving on to action items, which is approval of contract with FDU, which would only be on 10-1 since we've removed 10-2 of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve resolution? Motion, Mr. Alvarez.
Motion Chavez.
Any discussion? Roll call, Mr. Irfan.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Olivo,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you, Mr. Irfan. Committee reports. Anyone have any committee reports?
Yes. Negotiations met with BEA members last night to review a minor narrative change to their agreement. There was some redundancy. Is basically a single bullet was repeated and it has different information in it. So they're looking to have that bullet removed. That I shared with them that would be shared with our attorney, and upon his agreement, we would then bring it to the board.
Thank you, Mrs. Rocket. Anyone else? Just for the record, Buildings and Grounds will have a meeting with Building and Grounds of the Mayor and Council on Thursday at around 4 p.m. We've issued our plans, which is part of the referendum. I find it important that we make mention of that, only because I think everyone you see requests, where are we with process and progress? So for the record, we have submitted what the architects and engineers have drawn up. It seems all nice and clear, but for open transparency, we want the mayor and council to have some input or just provide us final approvals. We are looking to have a presentation made to them on behalf of the Board of Ed, where only one or two members, maybe I think under the quorum, can attend. And we will be presented to the mayor and council and the public on what our plans are for the future, the very, very near future, all of it, right? So we're going to present their fields and we'll highlight a little bit of what our side is. I know it's not their jurisdiction, but I think it's fair to just be open and everyone's on the same page, and maybe we can install vision across the board and move forward. So we're all working really hard. I will also like to bring up that myself and Miss Ruckett had a meeting with Mr. Kennedy, the designer, the architect, and someone from the engineering firm to discuss all the planning on every single project. I believe that they got from Mrs. Ruckett very clear and myself that we want to get to work and we want to make action happen. So for all those that were asking, know that we're really on this, okay? That's all for me. Anyone else? Okay, I'm moving on to old business. 12 of the section, moving on to 13, new business. Okay, now I'm moving on to opening citizen remarks on absolutely anything. You have, please state your name and address. You have 5 minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion. Mr. Chavez, do I have a second?
Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there any member of the public who would like to address the board? You have five, please state your name and address. You have 5 minutes. Okay, do I have a motion to close hearing on citizens, what is it, hearing of citizens? Remarks. Mrs. Olivo, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Rocket, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now moving on. All right, so making sure we're still having it. Moving on to executive session. Now on to executive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, right? Now on to executive session, section 15 of the agenda. I understand the board attorney.
Personnel, right?
Yeah, personnel. Would like to report on a personnel matter. I'm looking for, whereas C231 PL 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law, authorizes a public body to meet an executive or private session under certain limited circumstances. And whereas said law requires the board to adopt a resolution at a public meeting before it can meet in such executive or private session. Now therefore be it resolved by the Bogota Board of Education that it does hereby determine that it is necessary to meet an executive session on September 12, 2023 at approximately 7:21 p.m. to discuss matters involving negotiations, litigation, personnel, and that the matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required. Action may be taken upon return, may or may not be taken upon return of executive session. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Mrs. Alvarez, was that a
Chavez.
second, Mr. Chavez?
Yes.
Any, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
We should look. Expect to be in about 5 minutes.
so we'll be in and out about 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good.
the regular meeting.
Motion Olivo.
Go ahead. Yes,
Oh.
ready? May I have a motion to open the regular meeting of September twelfth?
Motion
Back to
Olivo.
order. Motion, Mrs. Olivo. Do I have a second?
Alvarez, second.
Mr. Alvarez, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to add an agenda item?
Motion.
Okay, motion,
Well,
Mr.
they-
Chavez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Rocket, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board approves the appointment of Jennifer Grom as a special education math teacher at a salary of masters plus 30, step 15, equivalent to $101,700, prorated for the 2023-2024 school year, effective on her release from her current school district. Do I have a motion to approve resolution? There's a number, is that 16? I'm sorry, 10.3.
Navarro,
Motion- oh,
Mr. Navarro, do I have a second? Mrs. Cruz?
Yep.
Roll call, Mr. Irfan.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
yes.
Mrs. Olivo,
Yes.
Mrs. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes,
Motion carried.
welcome back, Mrs. Grom. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Motion.
Mrs. Rocket, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Chavez, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.